All right. Well, my name is Randy Hitchcock. I'm the executive director of Uppadowna, and you are here at Virtual Happy Hour. We have a special guest of honor, Mr. Mike Bristol of Bristol Brewing Company with us. So thanks for being here with us.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
I mean, over the internet, but you know, we do what we can right now.
Yeah, but we haven't had beer for a while, so if this is what it
takes. We're excited to have you. So a couple things with Uppadowna, just real quick. We are a outdoor adventure nonprofit, and we focus on not only getting people outdoors, but educating them about how to recreate responsibly. And we started our life as Up a Mountain, Down a Beer. And back in that day, Bristol's Amanda and Mike were very supportive and great sponsors of ours. So even way back in our infancy, they've been supporting us. So we want to thank you also for helping us throughout all of those years, through thick and thin of our life cycles. We appreciate it. And Uppadowna, we've got some things going on right now since we are completely closed. We're not hosting any public events. We're doing a lot of things online now. So this virtual happy hour is one of those events, as well as we have things like an online coloring book that you can actually download that one of our staff members has crafted herself. And the proceeds go not only to her as an artist, but also to Uppadowna. So you can download that for $7 and support us through this time. You can also just donate regular. We definitely appreciate donations because with no income or revenue coming in from our programs, we're running a little low on cash. So you can do that through Facebook, our website, or Venmo also. So we just want to throw that out there to continue supporting small businesses, but also small nonprofits as well through this hard time. Okay, so before we get into some questions, I'm going to ask the most important thing is if you could tell me about this delicious beer that I'm drinking, the Compass IPA.
Oh, I'd love to. Compass IPA was a beer we first brewed in 1996. And I think because we've been around for so long, people sometimes knock us for not being innovative or not doing new things, which is not true if you hang out at the pub at all. But I would like to mention that in 1996, nobody knew what an IPA was. And this started its life called Ed City IPA. And it was a draft-only product that people really, a small group of people really loved. And so we ran it on draft only as Ed City IPA for quite some time. And then in right about, I want to say 2000, could be wrong on the year, but then we brought it out in bottles, renamed it as Compass, and then brought it out in cans after that. So it's just it's an old school IPA, so it's got the traditional hops, more of a West Coast style than the hazies these days. But I love it. We've got it's in the pub. It's depending on the time of year, it's usually our bestseller, our second bestseller. Yeah. We have customers that tear up when they come in the door and we, for some reason, say we're out of it. Always makes us feel terrible. So we try not to do that too much, but
yeah, keep a special set of reserves for just
exactly.
Well, we were discussing earlier, IPA is not really my jam. I'm more of just, your basic wheat. I like sour. I do like stout though. So I'm kind of all over the spectrum, but I can handle Compass and it's one of my husband's favorites. So that's something we can share together. So cheers. Thanks for making that so delicious for me as a non-IPA drinker.
Sure thing.
All right, so we're going to get into some more history actually about Bristol. So you guys have been around for a long time now and are getting there. And one of probably, if not the oldest, been around the longest in the Springs. Is that correct?
As far as production breweries, Phantom Canyon started 6 months before we did. So between the two of us, we've been the longest operating.
Yeah.
The
original. Can you give us just a quick rundown of the history of how you guys got started?
Yeah, we started in 1994. We started in a little industrial park. I call it an industrial strip mall, but just one of those units in an industrial park. In fact, it was about 100 yards as the crow flies from where Red Leg is right now. Wow. Although none of that stuff was there. Yeah. Red Leg building, or most of that wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And so we started out just Amanda and I and doing all draft. Didn't do any packaged beer or anything. And, this was 1994, so it was a totally different landscape. just getting people to understand what it was we were trying to do and why we were trying to do it was an interesting proposition. Um, since we were all draft, we had to go into restaurants and bars and convince them to,
Wow.
to take a gamble on us on one of their tap handles. And that was, in some cases, kind of an interesting proposition because they didn't really, craft brewing just wasn't that a thing back then. So a lot of education. But that's actually what's been kind of fun about it is over the years, we've educated people on beer styles that they'd never heard of before. I mean, the compass that we were just talking about, I mean, I bet 98% of Colorado Springs had never tasted an IPA when we came out with that. So it was kind of fun to sort of bring them along. I remember when we came out with Winter Warlock in 1995. I mean, I remember thinking after we brewed it, wow, that's gonna, I know that's gonna be a good beer, but I can't drink 500 gallons of it. So I hope other people like it too. But it was a little bit of a stretch back then, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what made it fun too. We were able to really educate people and get people to understand flavors they didn't understand before. And it was fun to be part of the industry at that time too. I mean, we started in that same era as Left Hand, Avery, Great Divide, Tabernash back then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'm forgetting another one. But we still know each other and we still communicate pretty regularly. And with the exception of Tabernash, we're all still around. So that's a good sign, I guess. So that was 94. We were in that facility until 98. We kind of grew out of that space. It was only 1,200 square feet, I think, when we started. And so in 98, we partnered with Joseph Coleman and bought the building on South Tejon. And he put the Blue Star restaurant in one side and we put Bristol Brewing Company in the other side. And that allowed us a lot more space. And we were able to add a bottling line at that point. We just, over those first 5 or 6 years, people just really kept bugging us for, you know, is there another way to get the beer to take home? Because we did growlers, but that was the way to get it to go home. Mm-hmm. So we were able to, we just didn't want to go through the whole stage of hand bottling things. A lot of small breweries back then were doing that. I couldn't figure out a way to do a consistent quality, make any money doing it that way. So we just said, look, we're going to wait until we can buy the real equipment to do it, which was a huge investment. And so we added that in 98 and we added a tasting room in 1998. And that's another kind of interesting twist to Bristol history is that tasting room on Tejon was the first modern tasting room in Colorado.
Wow.
That was the first time that anyone had sort of taken the concept to and realized that it was legal within the framework to be able to have a comfortable place to sell beer for on-site consumption. I mean, everybody was doing growlers and kegs, but nobody was doing it on-site unless it was a brew pub. So and I remember when we did it, I remember the guys from Ska coming by, the guys from Left Hand coming by. They'd be like, is this legal? Can you do this? I said, well, we asked, and they did say it was legal. And it's not intuitive because it's under the wholesaler's license. It's not under the manufacturer's license. So, but anyway, we don't, it's not a huge thing that we brag about, but in Colorado beer history, it's kind of interesting that Tejon facility is what launched tasting rooms as we know it. And we had no idea at the time, but that's also created the industry to the point that it is now, because tasting rooms are really what made it viable for a lot broader, a lot more breweries to exist. Without tasting rooms, I don't think we could have this sort of variety and the number of breweries that we have. There's just that's changed the industry entirely. So, and if we wouldn't have done it, someone else would have. We're not saying that we changed the industry, but it was a big step in history in Colorado. So we operated there from 98 and it was the early 2000s. No, it was about 2008 that we started. I started thinking about, we were kind of going to grow out of that place. And I started thinking about what's the future? Do we want to just sort of cap the growth and stay here? We really like that area of town. A lot of breweries, when they got to that point, they'd buy a piece of property outside of town, they'd put up a big metal building and they'd start shipping beer all over the country.
Yeah.
And that wasn't what we wanted to do. It just wasn't us. We wanted to be part of something bigger if we could. And so we had I spent some time looking at a lot of different options, and one option was even building 2 more stories on top of the facility we had, which looking back on it would have been a nightmare. But um, and it was at that time that the school, the Ivy Wild School, closed, and so it wasn't. And I didn't when I first heard they closed, I didn't say, "Oh, great, there's a great spot for a brewery."
Yeah.
It took a little while, and actually Joseph Coleman was the one that kind of said, well, let's do something over there. You can put the brewery over there. And I remember specifically, I said, Joe, we're in Colorado Springs. I don't think you can put a brewery in an elementary school in Colorado Springs.
uh,
And he said something really interesting. He said, well, if it was anybody else, I think you'd be right. But you guys could do it because you have the track record. People trust you. You do what you say you're going to do. You're involved in the community. And so it was really interesting that all of the things we had done up to that point, I think, did allow us to have some flexibility to do a creative project like that. So
that's awesome.
So we started that project in 2010, moved in 2013, and we've kind of expanded the facilities, or expanded our capacities by doing that. And we're still only available in Colorado. That's the way we like it. We don't desire to ship any further than that. And
super cool.
Yeah, we're still having fun.
Yeah, well, we enjoyed kind of growing with you in those Ivy Wild years. So my husband and I, if you guys don't know, we lived across the street from Ivy Wild, and we helped Joe Coleman grow some vegetables for Blue Star, Nosh, and it was just tons of fun seeing them grow day to day, and seeing people just get excited about the school and being a part of that. So we really became part of the Bristol family, probably 2009, 2009 to that 2013 timeline. And just absolutely loved being a part of the opening, and that kind of stuff was tons of fun. And since then we've moved out of the neighborhood, so we don't get over there as often as we'd like to, but it's still one of our most favorite patios to sit on. And we absolutely love it over there. And at the school is a great spot for you guys. I think it was just the perfect fit for you guys to be in there.
No, I agree. We've always had a real community focus, and that allowed us to just take it to the next level and really build this cool community gathering space, and just kind of continue to expand that part of our values.
Yes. So right now, since we can't have a community space at the moment, and everyone's kind of suffering through this cluster, what have you guys been doing during this time to kind of stay open and continue to get your beer to the public?
Yeah, for us, as far as just trying to make sure that the beers are available to our fans that want to have them, we have at the pub, you can still come and get takeout. You can call ahead and we'll do curbside service. Cool. We started actually home delivery to not the whole city, but a decent portion of it. So you can call in those orders. I think we deliver Tuesday through Saturday right now. And then, the other thing that we're fortunate is that our beer is pretty widely available around town in liquor stores and grocery stores, Walmart, Costco. And so, that's, a lot of people say, well, where do you want me to buy the beer? And I say, I don't really care. You should buy it wherever it's convenient for you. We just love
Bristol on it, then buy it.
We just love the fact that you're buying Bristol. So whatever's convenient.
Nice. Yeah.
And I think, some people just enjoy coming by the pub because they're used to coming by the pub. And we all know that a good excuse to get out of the house is not a bad thing. So
yes, exactly.
Certainly want to be able to do that. And we're fortunate because the space is big enough that we don't have a problem with the social distancing. And, we've if you come in, you'll see where we've kind of marked off, but, just to be safe about it. We're trying to keep everybody safe, certainly. But it was pretty easy for us because of the amount of space. And the first thing we did is took all the tables out of the pub. So there's a bunch of space.
Yeah, plenty of waiting space too. So you can fill growlers, is that correct?
Yeah, so we're doing refilling growlers or new growlers or crowlers, or you can also buy any of the packaged beer there too. So any of the 6-pack cans, bottles, and kegs. I mean, we always sell a lot of kegs to people with home systems or, generally people with parties. I don't think that's happening as much anymore. I hope that's.
But if somebody's stuck at home, you might as well get a keg, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I do have happy hour about 5 o'clock every day. So
Oh no, you're right.
might as
So
well.
yeah, those keg sales have been
Thoughts?
big, and interestingly, that's what a lot of people are taking advantage of for the delivery too. Is instead of
Oh
coming down
yeah.
there, putting their keg into their car or truck or whatever and taking it home, we have a $5 delivery charge, so why
Nice.
not just have the keg delivered? So, um,
Yeah.
so
Is
that's been kind of fun,
is the
and
dry goods store in that's not open, or can you buy swag? Could we still
yeah,
support you
yeah.
that
So
way?
that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. We did move a lot of our merchandise out into the pub,
Perfect.
where you come in, so we can get that, and you can still buy the merchandise online as well. And we're selling gift cards. I mean, certainly some people just want to support us and be ready for when this is all over. So
Mhm.
we're certainly up for that as well.
So that's another question I have with the gift cards. Somebody brought up a concern about that. It was actually a restaurant that said, I love that everyone's buying so many gift cards, but at the same time, I hope that when I reopen, I can be able to, you know, give you
Yeah,
everything you want with the gift cards. So do you have a way to kind of say, okay, yes, buy the gift cards, but is there a pros and cons to that, do you think?
there are pros and cons. We don't have necessarily a system, but certainly if we started seeing 100 gift cards a day go out,
Yeah.
that would be a little more concerning. But we haven't seen that kind of volume, so we're not terribly worried about that.
Unless everyone wants to use their gift cards on the Compass IPA, then you might have a little issue.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
don't want people crying over the Compass
And on the same day.
on the same day. Calm down, folks. Okay, so you kind of answered my question about what can we do as a beer community to help you guys. So you have the curbside, you have the delivery. That's awesome. So are your current staff members available to do those deliveries?
Yeah, so if anybody's a regular at the pub, they'll know Aaron from the pub, and he's the one doing the
Cool.
deliveries. And you'd recognize either Stephanie or Brittany or Katie is generally man in the bar for the to-go stuff. So and we've reduced our hours a little bit. It's 12 to 7 or 12 to 8.
Okay.
I should know that.
It's okay.
Let's
There's
say
a lot
12
of
to
stuff
7.
going on right now. I don't expect you to remember everything. But that's really cool. It's kind of like having the pub come to your patio. Like you recognize these people, they're
Yeah.
serving you the beer. And, I don't know about you, but, at a safe distance, it's still kind of fun to have a conversation with
Oh,
somebody. So to just have that connection with the pub still, I think is awesome that you guys are doing the delivery.
yeah, and it's interesting because obviously from a business perspective and we want to make sure that people have a way to support us financially, but we also feel a certain obligation. Well, I don't even know if it's an obligation. It's just really a desire on our part to remain connected to that group. And so that's why things like this are fantastic. That I mentioned, I think we were talking offline. We did a Facebook happy hour, a virtual happy hour on Facebook, and that we had no idea how that would go, but that was really a lot of fun to
Nice.
at least connect with those people that we're used to seeing or hearing. And that one was interesting too, because I hadn't thought about it, but there was a significant people that dialed into that from out of town. And they're people
Wow.
that used to live here and used to be fans, and now they live somewhere else. And
So,
obviously they still follow us or they wouldn't have known about
yeah.
it. So that was really fun to kind of see the comments and, people from all over the country talking about how they wish they could have this particular beer or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
so for us, we're just trying to think about how do we remain connected. And I think everybody's trying to think about that, but
Yes.
for us, that's just an important piece of kind of how we operate. So uh,
Yeah.
we'll continue to do more things like that, and that's why I was really glad that you invited me to do this too.
Well, definitely. And that's kind of my last question, wrap up question is how can people stay involved? Is it your Facebook page, the majority, an Instagram, website, newsletter? What are the best ways for people to stay in touch?
Well, theoretically, all of those would tie back together, and we do a pretty good job of that. But I think really if you're a Facebook person, Facebook's great. Instagram is always good, and it ties in. We do send out our e-news, so if anybody's on the our mailing list, and you can go to our website to get on that mailing list. If you go to bristolbrewing.com, you'll have access to links to all of those, all the social media, and also to get on the email list. or just come by and see us and we'll tell you what's going on too.
That's awesome. And let's see, my last question, I had it and I lost it. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, you didn't ask me what beer I was drinking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What beer are you drinking?
Well, I have to put in a good plug for our Yellow Kite Summer Pils because we just released it a week and a half ago.
Okay.
And it does happen to be one of my favorite beers. And with the weather the way it's been, and being in Colorado, you never really won't know if summer's coming or not. But I think we're pretty confident. So
Yeah.
So that's a big deal for us because normally when we release this beer, we release it at Prohibition, the April 7th Prohibition big party, and it's a big thing. And so this year we missed out on all that, but we just said, okay, let's get it out there. So
any chances for a postponed Prohibition party?
We have been asked that a couple of times, and we would love to do that. And I think it just depends on sort of how long this thing goes, but we would love to. That's one of our favorite. I mean, it's a favorite event of a lot of our staff, a lot of our customers, and it really is. It's become I can't remember how many years we've been doing it, but I mean, it's
a long time.
Yeah, it's become one of those Colorado Springs things. So I do hope that we can reschedule that and do something.
Definitely. That would be so much fun. I know on Facebook, all the memories keep popping up for me when I was dressed in the Prohibition outfits and stuff. So I'm like, God, that's so much fun. I need to go. So yeah, I vote yes for the postponed Prohibition party. So if you have nothing else to add, I'm going to go ahead and open up the room to questions. So I'm just going to unmute everybody. And if you have a question, you can either just chime in or you can type it in the chat and I can read it to Mike, unless I think you can see the chat too, Mike. And
yeah, my eyes aren't as good as yours probably, but
okay. I can always read you the question too. So if anyone has a question, go ahead and chime in.
I'm just saying, before we have a question, I'm saying it's good to see Amy and Bertie and Dale and know your faces. It's awesome.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm doing great.
What's everyone drinking? I saw some other folks with beer.
Well, mine's a Stella tonight.
Oh, okay. All right.
I had some Breckenridge bourbon, so.
Oh,
That's all good.
But I guess since we're drinking with Mike, I'll have to go get a compass.
Now, why does? Oh, and a minute ago I thought you said Bertie, or your name said Bertie, but obviously you're Brian and Becky.
Right, Bertie, he's down there. He's not on the video.
Oh, okay.
That's still be in his jammies.
Oh, yeah.
You guys.
I don't know. I think a lot of people aren't combing their hair and shaving anymore, so they don't turn on the video. Well, mine's
doing something.
I mean, Mike, you're going to have to teach me how to do a ponytail here in about a week.
Yeah, we were just talking around our house that I told my oldest son, I'll cut your hair, you cut mine. And then he looked at me funny and I said, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
So,
well, let's hear.
Fireside chat. Fireside. Who did that? Roosevelt, the fireside chat.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we do have a question from Bertie. Mike, can you tell us about how the crowlers work? It's kind of new. So please and thank you. Crowlers.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason it took us a little longer than a lot of breweries to get.
Oh, you just muted.
1 second. Okay, there we go. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, no problem.
Go for it.
Yeah, so crowlers, they've been around for a little while. We just, for us, a lot of times we don't adopt like the newest thing right away. We kind of try to figure out how do we really do it the way we want to do it and do it right. But crowlers are kind of cool. I mean, it's basically a 32-ounce can, but it acts the same way as a growler in that we can fill them from the pub. They're not refillable, but they are recyclable. And some people just, they enjoy the convenience of grabbing 2 crowlers, instead of a growler, and they don't have to worry about washing their growler out and keeping it in their car and bringing it back and all that stuff. And you know, there's something kind of cool about pouring beer out of a 32-ounce can. I mean, I'll
Yeah,
admit
it is pretty cool. How long have you guys been doing those?
just the last few months.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's new to me. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of breweries do it, and a lot of people would rather get it that way. We still do growlers. I mean, there's a lot of people that have, you know, I mean, we have a lot of people that bring their 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 growlers in every week and get them filled, and that's their supply for the week. And so we certainly still do that too. Growlers are also nice for people like people that don't necessarily live here. I know that when I travel, I don't really want to buy a growler from a brewery because I'm not going to come back there, and I don't need another growler at home. So for that, growlers are nice. So I think come summer, we have a lot of people, tourists and people that are traveling that come through in the summers normally. So I think that'll be nice for them too.
That's awesome. I'm excited to get that. Do you have any examples of that on your table there?
No, I wish I did.
It'd be cool to see. All right, if anyone else has questions, you can unmute yourself. I'll leave it muted, but if not, you can also type them in the chat. But we've got about 10 more minutes, well, maybe 8 more minutes now. So if anyone else has a question, unmute all. I'll go ahead and unmute everybody.
Even if you don't have a question.
Even if you don't have a question, you can just chat. It's happy hour.
By the way, congratulations, Brian and Becky, on a new granddaughter or son. I can't remember.
Granddaughter, yep.
Yay.
Charlotte West, and she'll go by West.
Oh,
Yeah, we're excited. I was really fortunate to be able to go up there and babysit my 3-year-old granddaughter while Mom was delivering in the hospital. So it was so special. Now I'm really missing her.
Yeah, it's kind of a rough time for that to be able to get.
So they got her in the hospital and out the next day because they just wanted to keep those beds open, and
Yeah.
they didn't really induce her, but she was born a week before her due date, but she was fully developed and totally healthy. But
They sped things along, shall we say. So
Man.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah, all the fingers that this sort of crisis has, you know, I mean, all the secondary things like that, you know, like we don't want you, we want to get you in and out.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and everything went great. So they're really lucky. She didn't have to stay. So.
That's awesome.
Good.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
So we do have another question in the chat from Rich. Rich, any thought for a virus commemorative beer, or will this be a bad memory? I kind of like that.
That is a great question.
Yeah.
It has been, I don't know if it's been seriously brought up, but it has certainly been brought up within the brewery. But I think by the time this is all over, we're not going to want to have any references to viruses or COVID or viruses or Corona.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want references to Corona anyway, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I don't want to be related.
That's a whole nother subject.
I love it.
But it would be interesting to, we have thought about, you know, is there another way to sort of commemorate kind of when this is over, depending on how that transition happens, because I think nobody really knows what that's gonna be. But is there another way to sort of commemorate that in some sort of way that obviously not with a direct reference to the virus, but just, I don't know, there's some ideas sort of percolating.
Right.
Sort of like community ale or another community ale. That's probably all you need. But a community thing where it's about the celebration. And yeah, again, you don't mention coronavirus or COVID or any of that stuff, because honestly, I'm getting tired of hearing those words. But something that, you know, projects community and listen, we all stuck together through this. So here's your celebration beer. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it makes people. I mean, I think this, if nothing else, this has really made us appreciate what we have when
Yeah.
you don't have it. You know, I mean, I've mentioned, and people that know me really well. I mean, I'm not a huge extrovert that's out and about all the time, but you know, it still takes your toll. It takes a toll on you when you can't connect with people in a physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting. We've got some ideas about that. And actually, you brought up the community ale, so I will share one thing that we're working on. We're working on an initiative now, and we're going to tie it to our Ivy Wild School Pale Ale, our Ivy Wild School Tropical Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Another shameless plug. But because that's called Ivy Wild School, and Ivy Wild is all about community, we're working on an initiative to sort of shift our community ales focus, because we're going to miss a couple of community ales just because of the scheduling of this shutdown. And so we're thinking that we shift a little bit, and we base it on Ivy Wild School, but we do all of the profits from that, and we've got our distributor involved with that too to help support that. And we turn all that back to the hospitality industry workers that have been affected, because it's just huge. And even if you're not in that business, I mean, you know people that are in that business, and for us, it's those people that have been on the front lines selling our beer for 26 years, you know. And so we feel a real sense of sadness, and we really want to help in some way for that. So in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll have a lot more of those details ironed out, and we'll get that worked out.
I think that's awesome. So great, and such a great beer too. I love that beer as well. So, I mean, to have people gather around one thing, and again, like you said, like the fingers, like it's just everyone knows someone or knows of someone that knows someone that's been affected by this and lost a job or closed a restaurant or whatever it is now. So to be able to give back and quickly, I would think, would it be a pretty quick turnaround for support?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is right now we're talking with a couple of organizations that are already sort of set up to kind of administer that type of thing, and that's the goal. If we can't, then we'll work with some existing nonprofits to do it ourselves. But yeah, I mean, within the next couple of weeks, we'll be live with it.
That's awesome.
I might just chime in here. You know, we had the Feast of St. Arnold. We had to cancel, and we're still trying to figure out ways, one, to find a way to help the brewers. I've talked with Mike about this, and we're kind of still brainstorming on some solutions there, because part of the Feast of St. Arnold was an event called the Pilgrimage of Pints, which was a beer tour that led up to the festival, and we asked brewers to make a special beer that St. Arnold may have brewed, you know, and we're trying to find a way to expand that and create an incentive for people to go and visit breweries and buy to-go beer.
Yeah.
And so Mike and I, we're trying to figure out whether $1 off or $2 off. I mean, we're just still working with those mechanics, but we're also proposing to sell a ticket through our Eventbrite to our constituents to see if they would buy that ticket. We'll give them a $20 voucher to the Feast of St. Arnold next year. So they buy a $20 ticket, they get a $20 voucher, then they can go visit these breweries and get $1 or $2 off. And then if they visit more breweries they visit, then they'll get prizes and T-shirts and so forth. And Becky came up with a great design idea for the logo for these T-shirts. And if you're familiar with the Feast of St. Arnold logo, it's well, it's hard to describe, but we would put a mask on Arnold, and then where it says 2020 with the zeros in the 2020 would be rolls of toilet paper.
I love it.
I love that.
Becky, I think you've been,
So, and I think we're gonna print up some stickers to give away too. So I think those might be collectors.
yeah.
Um,
That's
but
awesome. Count me
we're
in.
still just.
Yeah.
So, so hopefully we can launch this sometime in the next week or 10 days. We were optimistic we'd get it launched earlier, but the platform we wanted to do is not available. So we're going to go back to we're going to try to go back to the old.
So I'll record just a little goodbye here. So Zoom kicked us off. I had 40 minutes, a free version. Got to do what we can in these hard times right now. So we had a great conversation.
I'm just glad to know it wasn't just me. You didn't just.
It was everybody. Cut off. That's enough. No more.
That you didn't
So
say, okay, we're tired of you and we're just going to
Yeah.
eliminate you.
no, goodbye, Mike. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't you. It was me. So yeah, so I'll upgrade to that for next time. But sorry to everybody that got kicked off. And but thanks for joining us, Mike Bristol. And it was great to hear about everything you guys are doing. I'm excited to come over and get the Crowler at some point. That's super exciting. So that's on my list of things to do to support you guys through this time. And do you guys deliver to Bonfort area?
I believe so. Are you you west of Union?
Yes.
Yeah, then you should be in the territory. Yep.
Perfect. Cool. So I will get a Crowler for delivery.
There you go. All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us, and best of luck through this time. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll be back on that patio soon enough.
Right.
I hope.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Bye,
Well, you
Randy.
take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.